if you're serious and you want to give everything that God has given you back to God, then come lay your keys to your house, your car at the front. And they did, and they came in mass, and people started to lay their houses and their cars at the front of the church service. And then the pastor goes along and gives each person their house back and their car back, and then says, the Lord gives you this property. And there was this mindset shift.
Hello and welcome back to Season 3, Episode 2 of the Proximity Podcast I'm Natalie Williams and this is Sam Ward.
Hello.
Hello, Sam. What have you been up to lately? We didn't do that last episode. We've had a break, obviously, because we don't record these all year round and it's been months. So
we haven't seen each other for a long time,
We've not, actually.
It's been some time since we recorded the last season.
So what have you been doing?
All sorts of stuff. I have really enjoyed recently. We did a proximity retreat where we take people away from who are on the front line of urban mission.
Why didn't I get invited in this?
Yeah.
Who was it for? Could anyone have come? Could I have come?
You could have, yeah.
If I knew about it?
Yeah.
So now people listening, if you do another one.
Oh yeah, there's you can sign up on Proximity Hub.
That now sounds like we just did that deliberately, but I actually didn't know that. So is there going to be another one?
Yeah, there's another 3 dates in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what did you do on it?
Oh, they're amazing. They're so good. So we take you away to a beautiful place, beautiful house in York. It's a taught retreat. So there's 4 sessions of teaching.
Taught. I thought taught.
Tight. People arrive taught and they leave relaxed.
Okay. Taught.
There's some teaching in there.
Right.
4 sessions, and then there's lots of time to relax. There's a swimming pool where we are able to enjoy some of that. We have fire pits and lovely food.
Was it like a weekend thing, or
we've done a couple of different things. We've done some weekday ones for those who are probably in more paid employment. And then for those who are more bivocational, we've tried to do an end of the weekend, early weekend one, recognising that most people want to be back or feel the need to be back for church. So we don't want to overlap with that. So you're back in time for Sunday morning.
Very good. And so what about your southern people like me?
Yeah.
We have to come to York.
Well, we just had a couple come all the way from Southampton.
Did you?
Yeah, 6 hours in the car. But we're also looking to do one in the south. I suppose the benefit of where we do it at the moment is that we get this property for free.
Wow.
And so we don't have to fork out for really, really beautiful accommodation. So if you're listening and you're actually an owner of a stately home somewhere in the south, please do let us know. We'd like to do one in the south. I did just do a plug.
I was hoping that you'd just commit on the podcast to doing one in the south so that everyone would have heard it and it would be then a done thing. But you went bigger and grander and now you want a stately home.
I'm a visionary.
Yeah, clearly. I see that.
Yes. Tell me about you. What have you been up to?
Well, actually different sort of way of going away. But we went away, Jubilee Plus ran a residential called Formed, which was basically, I shouldn't call it this, but I will. It was leadership training that we're not calling leadership training because it's for people on low incomes who would disqualify themselves from anything that has the word leadership in the title. Like we did all these focus groups and they basically said, if you call it leadership, we're not going to come because we're going to assume it's not for us. And so we've called it Formed, based on formed in the image of God, conformed to the likeness of Christ and transformed by the Spirit of God. Which
that looked rehearsed.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Do you know what? That came to me just in genuinely, I was trying to think of a title for something and that came to me while I was praying, which doesn't normally happen to me like that clearly.
That's
but I
special.
thought that is pretty good, isn't it? I like it. So we had 9 people for who are just the most incredible bunch of people. So we had a couple of people from Manchester, a couple from Liverpool, a couple from Southampton, a couple of people from Brighton and one from Eastbourne. And these 9 people would have all disqualified themselves from leadership. Just incredible backgrounds even from, Class A drug dealers previously to army veterans, kind of, like a real mix of people, but have all found themselves in difficult times and difficult circumstances and have come to know Jesus and have real leadership gift and potential but don't fit maybe a certain church mold of leadership. So church leaders don't necessarily kind of know what to do with them almost, but also they wouldn't go on more traditional types of leadership training. So they'd never go to Bible college, or they just wouldn't think that was for them. So we took all the kind of focus group info, which was things like every session has to be 15 minutes, which, you know, you and I can't keep a podcast under half an hour. So, you know.
I struggled to say my name in that time.
I now want to ask you what your middle name is and assume it's something like ridiculously long. But yeah, and do you know what? It's one of the best working weeks of my life.
Really? I love that.
It was utterly. Do you know what? Before we went, it's led by Rosie Hopley on our team, and Rachel Wilson on our team is involved, and I'm involved. Tom Grant from Proximity is also involved. So it was great to have him with us and to do it with him. It really was, actually. It was great. But I said to Rosie and Rachel before we went, because we know how God works, we absolutely should go into this knowing we will learn more than we teach. And that absolutely is what happened. And I just felt like it was such a privilege to be among these incredible leaders and to hear them at the start of the 4 days saying, oh, yeah, I'm not a leader. And some people say they see leadership in me. Like they'd had to be nominated by their church to come. And so they were like, they seem to think I'm a leader, but I'm not. And then you're looking at these people and within 5 minutes, you're like, you are absolutely a gifted leader. Like what, you know, kind of. And then on day 4, to hear them saying things like, I feel so much more confident. I feel like God's called me. I feel like I can go back now. And then we've been hearing stories ever since. This was at the beginning of March, actually. So we've been hearing stories ever since from them about one who had never prayed out loud, suddenly able to pray out loud for people and be part of the ministry team in her church. Another who got himself a custom-made hoodie that says, stop me if you want me to pray for you. And he now wears it around Manchester, saying, like, I'm scared, but actually I feel like God's given me this confidence to wear this and expect people in the street to stop me and to expect him to move when I pray. And he just would have never done that before. Wow. And you just these stories of people stepping out. One of the guys actually on it who used to be a Class A drug dealer, he said that his big kind of takeaway at the end of the 4 days was, God, would you give me someone to disciple who I know that kind of they could really do with me discipling them. And he said, so this was on the Friday, and then on the Sunday, 2 days later, he's in church, a 19-year-old drug addict comes up to him and says, could you disciple me, please?
Wow.
And he's just like, I knew that was God's answer, like start with this guy. And because he's like, and now I realize I'm called to raise up other leaders. And this is a guy who like 4 days earlier wouldn't have even thought he was a leader. And you know what I mean? It's just, honestly, it was mind blowing. I felt my heart was full coming away from it. I felt real joy just seeing Jesus at work, being with this amazing group of people. So
amazing.
Yeah,
wow.
It was good.
What's next for that? Just out of interest.
We're running it again with a different cohort. So applications open on the 1st of June, and church leaders can nominate, or social action leaders, or, you know, basically someone in leadership in a church can nominate people to come.
Even people listening to this podcast?
Well, we tend to go with our partner churches, to be honest. Okay, yeah. So, Jubilee plus partner churches, it's one of the things that's kind of open to them, mostly because we can only take 10, so it'll be oversubscribed, of course, we expect. But, anyone who wants to find out about being a Jubilee plus partner church, there's a whole load of stuff you get access to. That's just one thing. So, yeah.
You can do that through your website?
You can do it through our website, yes.
Do you know the URL?
I do, but I don't like saying it out loud because it sounds so complicated. It's Jubilee plus, which is the word plus, not the symbol. Oh, yeah. So the hyphen's a symbol. You see what I mean?
It don't work,
so Jubilee thanks. Jubilee-plus.org. Do you not have the technical ability to put that on the podcast video or under the Insta reel?
It could be over your face throughout this podcast.
Could it be as if I've got it tattooed on my forehead?
Yes, definitely.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay.
And then there could be like a zoom in, you know, like.
Anyway, now that, anyone listening to this podcast has had 10 minutes of us catching up on how we are and what we've been up to, should we talk about something that Jubilee
Jubilee related.
Not Jubilee Plus related, but
yes.
Year of Jubilee related.
Well, we barely scratched the surface last time, didn't we? Talking about Jubilee. We tried to maybe look a little bit at generosity as we were sort of journeying through, but we hit a broader understanding. But in this episode, we really want to begin to dig a bit deeper. And I suppose a fundamental starting point when we look at Jubilee is recognizing that everything in the world belongs to God. Us, the land, the animals are all from God. And that everything we have is a gift from him. And I suppose that beginning point is recognizing where true ownership lies and understanding our part in it starts with stewardship of what God has given. And actually that's not straightforward, particularly in our society where we begin to think we're self-made men and women, that we've accrued what we've deserved and it's all been worked hard for. And actually how fundamental we need to get back to this, like everything is a gift. And that's what Jubilee begins to do, doesn't it? Because in this year of Jubilee, there's lots of giving back and giving away. And there's also a lot of not doing of stuff and this growing dependence on God. I think it's this reaffirmation that in this year of letting go and freeing and releasing, we not only free and release those who've been enslaved by us, but it's also us being freed, aren't we, from the systems and structures of the world that we've begun to be corrupted by, and also an understanding that we are that ultimately everything we have belongs to God. Yeah.
And I think that's so countercultural in the UK and the society in which we live. Well, in the Western world in general, it feels a little bit like, if we're truly honest, even for those of us who are Christians, we do live as if our attitude is what's mine is mine. And it's interesting, isn't it? Even like on the last episode, I mentioned those 7 sweet words in the Bible, Christ Jesus has made me his own. Like, even I am not mine. I'm his. And therefore, whatever he tells me to do, I need to do it. Whatever he tells me to give, I need to give it. That whole idea of I'm not my own, and I've become a slave to righteousness. And the language actually of the New Testament is kind of, I don't know, is it offensive? It's blunt though, isn't it? Whether it's offensive or not, it's very clear. We don't even belong to ourselves. If we are Christ followers, we are his, and therefore kind of at his beck and call, which is uncomfortable language. Do you feel, I don't know, I feel a bit of, I don't want to be at anyone's beck and call, but obviously if I am going to be at someone's, I do want it to be Jesus's and, not yours, for example. No offence. I love it when people say no offence because it always means they've just said something offensive.
A little bit offensive,
But there is something of, we're not our own. Our stuff is not our own. There's a verse in 1 Corinthians 4 that says, what do you have that you did not receive? Like, everything we have is a gift from God. Everything we have is on loan to us. And that's as true of, your wife and kids as it is your finances, your home, your car, those sort of things, isn't it? Everything we have is on loan to us to do good with.
I find that easier to understand because I didn't make my children. I have 2 kids, but they came by way of adoption, and they definitely felt like a gift.
Yeah,
I would love to talk to someone who's made their own children, whether they find it harder to understand that they're a gift. Maybe if they've been hard fought and it's been a long journey of infertility or whatever. But I can definitely see they're a gift from God, even in the way that our children were given to us.
Yeah, right.
There was these beautiful God moments where, where we absolutely knew that the Lord had orchestrated stuff to enable us to know that it was.
And isn't that like a real privilege then that you've kind of got that understanding because that your kids were so clearly a gift to you in a way that you can't take any credit for them? And sorry, I know that it's also a very painful thing, but I'm just hoping this isn't going to be one of those stories you tell about someone said something really insensitive to you.
Oh, no. I love talking about it, and I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. It's vital. Actually, when things get difficult too, that I'm reminded that they were given to me as a gift, and they came with a promise, and they came with a plan, and that's great when things aren't necessarily all straightforward.
Do you tell them that you're a gift to them? Is that something that's part of your fathering strategy? To you're having a massive argument with them. Wow. You're like, when it says fathers don't exasperate your children, do you turn around and basically go, hey, I'm a gift from God to you?
Wow. I've not gone with that. I think that would definitely help amid a big bus stop.
Do you think this is why I don't have kids?
Oh, no.
The next podcast we'll do together will be a parenting one.
Yeah.
For sure. But there is something of actually whatever we've got, and it's different. Talking about your kids is different, obviously, to talking about things you can give away, like your money, your car, I'm not trying to tell you should give your car away, by the way, but it could be prophetic, couldn't it? But what does it look like for us to be good stewards of what we've got? And in terms of your kids, that's investing in them, trying to teach them, I guess, the ways of the Lord, trying to teach them about mercy, justice, compassion, and nurturing them, and doing the best of your ability that they might grow into adults who carry your values and the values you've got that are God's values anyway, those ones. But then with our stuff, there can still be this kind of clinging on, can't there, but it's mine, but I earned it. Like, I don't know how you feel when you get paid each month. It's, that I can sometimes have this, I just see it at work in myself, this is mine that I worked hard for. And I did work hard for it. But we can then get into this whole attitude of, so it's mine, then I made it. It's, and buy into that whole myth that if you just work hard enough, you'll have enough.
Ooh.
Like, because that's the American dream, isn't it? If you just try hard enough, you'll be fine. Actually, not even fine. You'll thrive if you just try hard enough, which reinforces this narrative that people who haven't got haven't tried. They're like skivers and shirkers, and what I'm trying to think of the kind of tabloid newspaper headlines. And they haven't tried hard enough, therefore they haven't got. And why should I give mine that I worked hard for to that person who, maybe I think, well, if they just tried a bit harder, they'd be okay. But obviously that is, in many respects, just an utter myth, because life just doesn't work like that. And even the Bible doesn't say that life works like that. I'm reading the Psalms as part of my daily devotions at the moment, and you get this, why do the wicked prosper? Like, it looks like just be as wicked as you like and you do well, and, but be as godly as you like, and sometimes life goes horribly wrong for you. And also, I'm a firm believer that any of us is only maybe 2, 3, 4 bad circumstances or bad decisions, or maybe half and half, away from finding ourselves in poverty. But I think there's a TED talk I find really interesting on this. It talks about what happens the richer you get. And apparently there's been loads of studies, particularly in America actually, but I think in the Western world in general as well, that show that the more you have, the more likely you are to believe you made it happen. So
wow. Okay.
They even did all these studies if they had people playing Monopoly, right? And they'd put 2 people like us across from each other, and one would be given way more money at the start and would be given it's American, so chips, crisps, sat there, sweets, that they have everything on their side is better. And then when they win, they would talk about their good gameplay, their good strategy, kind of how they saw the game and how it needed to be played. And none of them in this was quite a wide-ranging study, talked about the fact that the odds had been stacked in their favour from the outset.
Luminac.
And there's a whole bunch of studies like that. There's one that is about the car you have, and the more expensive the car you have, the more likely you are to believe that you created your own wealth and you are a product of your own good decisions. And it's scary though, because don't you, like, I kind of see on a smaller scale, because I'm not that wealthy, I see that work in myself, though, sometimes in my own mindsets of, I'm a hard worker. And even things like people said to me quite a lot lately, you're really high capacity. And they mean that as a real compliment. But Rachel Wilson on my team has really helped me think about, what does that say about people who are low capacity? Are they less valuable than me? Are they less, sorry, that's straying down a bit of another avenue, sidetrack
it's
there.
helpful though. It's an interesting thing. I mean, I've experienced that feeling of like I've achieved for a while on trainline.com when going to London. you could see, well, you can still see the price of the first class ticket, which is often exorbitant and ridiculous. You never pay it. But occasionally, on just the odd occasion, it would be £10 extra. And then you'd get your breakfast. So it felt like it'd be sometimes worth it. I would pay the top up myself.
You get breakfast?
If you go at a certain time, you'll get breakfast. It's amazing.
I didn't know this.
Amazing chair and all that lot. But how you feel about yourself and other people, and if people stray into your carriage when you are in first class, the amount you begin to feel like you judge those around you, that they're your equals, or those who aren't in. And I'm normally in the usual end of the train. But it's so weird how it does that to you. So
you just become more judgmental automatically just by sitting in first class.
I hated what it did to me. It was despicable.
But then don't you think, I don't know.
Like I'd earned it, like I deserved it. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, no, but the opposite is true as well. Like for anyone who's been on a plane where you've had to walk through business class to get to your economy seat, and you see all the people sat there and they all look at you as you trundle through. And I think something's happening in everyone's hearts in that moment, isn't it? I'm sure I once got upgraded to business class, and I sat there with the smuggest kind of, no one would have known it. It made my face might have given it away, because it's the same thing. I was like, oh, look at all the people having to go through to their economy seats, and I got upgraded, woo. And it's not a nice thing that it does in your heart. But then also, I now, more often, because that's only happened to me once, walk through business class to get to economy, really judgmental about all the people who've spent a ridiculous amount of money, because, so I'm just like, these people are so, like, who do they think they are? So totally like reverse snobbery, inverted judgmentalism, and which is just as wrong as the other feeling, isn't it? So,
but we started at this idea that recognizing that everything that we've got has been given to us by God. He is the owner, the author of all things, and how we need to constantly be challenged by the things that we find in our lives are fundamentally His, and that He's given us responsibility to use them for righteous purposes. And then you get that story of Jesus who talks about the rich young ruler who He calls to sell everything, and actually how difficult that would be when you feel like you've got a lot, and if you feel like a self-made man and you're deserving of what you've created around you, and then suddenly this messianic teacher, this prophet, this rabbi calls you to lay it all down, how your very identity and all that you are is being asked to be emptied, and how difficult that must have been for him. It's an incredible challenge, but really the call was to give back to God everything that He's given you. Will you still trust Him? Will you trust that God has got you? And I think even when we talked about, are we grateful, or do we think we've earned the salary that appears in our bank once a month? Or are we recognizing actually all of that was from you, Lord? And if you said to give it today, everything that's just been received, would I trust you to take care of the things that I do now have to pay for? There is a mortgage, there are bills, and there's nothing left to be able to pay for those. Do I believe you've got it? And I think that is very difficult in the Western world to get our mindset in that. I did hear about one church though, a pastor who preached that rich young ruler text, and was surprised when he learned that his church were taking seriously the teaching that he had brought that Sunday morning. And he'd heard that people were challenged so much that they were beginning to put their houses on the market. And he was like, oh my goodness, what does that mean? They're going to give, who are they going to give the money to? And he's beginning to panic, like, wow, what have I done here? And so he begins to teach the church the next week and respond to this, and says, if you are serious and you want to give everything that God has given you back to God, then come lay your keys to your house, your car at the front. And they did, and they came in mass, and people started to lay their houses and their cars at the front of the church service. And then the pastor goes along and gives each person their house back and their car back, and then says, the Lord gives you this property. And there was this mindset shift. Yeah, and I do wonder about the people of God Where Jubilee is brought in as a people group, where they've been given land, it's easier to understand that it has been a gift and therefore use it. And I think, like we're talking about with adopted children, where they're given to me as a gift, I know they're a gift, and therefore I think differently about how they became mine. Whether even being given your house back changes the mindset, and the influence then on the church, the changing culture. People went home and there was a new season of hospitality. People were sharing their homes for meals and bringing the homeless in and thinking about the refugee. And there's this whole cultural shift amongst this church who say, we recognize we have been given something from God, and it's going to change and transform the way we now live. And I wonder whether we need to do that as a church en masse. Right. You don't own anything.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? How do we ensure that people understand that they've laid down and God has given?
Yeah, and I think it's massively countercultural, isn't it? Because in our culture, we think of our homes as our safe places. Like, this is a closed, and I think COVID also made that much worse as well. Because my home is my safe place. It's my sanctuary. It's my, can I let someone come in and share that space? And so I think there is something of needing like a real, study and understanding of this Jubilee principle to help us think through everything I've been given as a gift. And therefore to come before God and say, God, what does good stewardship of my home look like? What does good stewardship of my current account look like? But also, what does good stewardship of my ISA look like? Because often we can compartmentalize, can't we? And say, God, you can have the current account, but you can't have the ISA. That's for holidays. That's for broken boilers. That's for, whatever, rainy day. So my kids can inherit it, whatever it might be. So what does it mean? I did not like this quote, and I won't quote it exactly, but I'll paraphrase it. Oswald Chambers writes something about, I can't even remember what verse of the Bible he's quoting, but the Apostle Paul basically had a help yourself, Jesus attitude. And so Oswald Chambers challenges us to pray, Jesus, help yourself to anything you want in my life. I think I pray that with fear and trembling, I do pray it because I want it to be my attitude, but I know that then when Jesus starts trying to take something, I'm like clinging onto it for dear life. And it can be anything. So I last year was talking to God about Jubilee Plus. I am the public face of it. I lead the charity. When people ask us to come and speak, often they want me. I have a lot of opportunities, and it's kind of based around me, which I don't think is healthy. And I don't want it to be that way. That's just how it's happened since Martin Charlesworth, who founded it, handed it over to me. And so I was praying, God, how do I stop being the only public face of this charity? And I felt God say to me straight away, stop preaching in other churches for 5 months on Sundays, basically, to take a 5-month break. I'm actually 1 month into it at the minute. And when God said that to me, I suddenly was like, that sounds like a really good idea, God, but, I'm a bit too insecure for that, really. Because what happens if I stop and then people stop asking me? And how do I know that it will just be for 5 months and it won't be forever? And I like speaking, and it's part of what I feel gifted and called to do, Jesus. And I thought you've anointed me for it. And what if the others on the team turn out to be better at it than I am, which, actually is proving to be true. You know what I mean? Like but I had been praying that, take anything you want. And obviously this isn't the same as material stuff, but am I actually hands open? Jesus, there's nothing I'm gripping onto so tightly, and it's painful. And it's the same with finances, isn't it? I've been in a weird situation this year where I feel like God keeps reminding me about a story. I've probably told it on this podcast about a friend of mine who for a whole year only bought anything if he could buy 2 and give 1 away.
Like that.
And yeah, try doing it. I'm not doing it with everything, but I have felt a provocation from God that if I'm going to spend like on a luxury, on something that's a significant, amount of money. And when I say significant amount of money, for me, that's not high, that's like 50 quid or something. But if I'm going to do anything, so if I'm going to book a holiday or whatever, I will only do it if I can spend the same on something for someone else.
God, blimey, that's
great. I know,
great.
it's not great. It's not great, Sam. No, it is great. It's great as in it's doing a lot of character work on my heart, and it's helping me practice what I preach, and it's, God is at work, but it's painful. It's meant there's some things I haven't spent money on for myself because I can't afford to do the same for someone else or like give the equivalent to someone else. But that's been really helpful in making me think, well, do I need that thing then? And there is something it is great, but it doesn't feel great if I'm honest.
So is there a blessing though? So when we talk about Jubilee, and if that becomes like a Jubilee principle, when we're thinking about the ownership of all things belonging to God, that he gives us stuff to steward, that he could take what he wants because he's God and he has every right to. And that leaves us vulnerable or leaves us dependent. Maybe that's a better word.
Yeah.
We're dependent upon him. And I really want that to be the case. Yeah. And that's one of those same prayers that you prayed, where you're praying it with some hesitancy because God, I kind of know what that could lead to. If I pray, Lord, make me dependent on you, you could take a load of things away. And it could lead to fear. But there's got to be this promise, though, that comes with those things. But you're talking about it being painful, but can you also see the blessing in deeper dependence on God, or where something means you have less of the things of this world? There is a richer, deeper treasure that we find in God that then, far outweighs anything of this world. Yeah,
definitely. For me, I'd say that the biggest thing for me that during this season of God really challenging me about, I guess, letting go of whether it's speaking role or finances or whatever, is I have a deeper intimacy with Jesus.
And there you go.
And I love it. I love that bit of it. I also, I'd been praying for quite a long time, probably a good 2 years or so. Jesus, I want to have lightning fast and joyful obedience. And I knew all the time I was praying that at some point it would be tested. Did I mean it? And there is something, I don't know, it'll probably sound a bit self-righteous, but it doesn't feel that way to me. There's just a joy in seeing that I'm becoming more obedient, and my obedience is joyful and it's quicker. And there've been times in the past where I've been obedient through gritted teeth and with God knowing my heart, like I'll do it because you tell me, but I don't want to. And it's a kind of, but I love that we've got the example of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane saying, not my will, but yours, which means that Jesus wanted something different to what the Father wanted from him in that moment when he's praying, not my will. My will is not the cross, but I'm going to go with your will. And there's something that is joyful of submitting to the will of God, trusting, I think, as well as my intimacy with Jesus growing, my trust in God that actually he genuinely is going to work all things together for my good because I love him. That's grown pretty massively. And I've got some particular trials I'm going through at the moment where I'm really like, I think I actually do trust God. Like it's kind of come as a surprise. So that's all good. But I think that's also part of the Jubilee principle, isn't it? That the whole society in the Old Testament, if they lived according to the tithing year and the Sabbath year and the year of Jubilee and all these principles, that actually the rich would get the same kind of richness of faith because they couldn't put their trust in their material riches because they weren't going to be keeping them for that long. And so there is this sense in which whatever you might put your trust in, ultimately you're going to have faith in God to live that way. There's a book, The Jubilee Gospel by Kim Tan, and it puts a table of the tithing year, the Sabbath year, and the Jubilee year. And if you look at them in a table, so year 3, you've got the tithing year. So then year 6, you've got another tithing year because they come every 3 years. So then year 7, you've got the Sabbath year. Year 9, you've got the tithing year, and so on and so forth. And actually, when you look at it towards the end, in years 48, 49 and 50, you've got these 3 years back to back of extraordinary generosity. And if you actually lived like that, if the Old Testament, if the people of God had lived like it, the amount of faith and trust in God that would have required, they would have been extraordinary. And then you think, what intimacy with the Lord they would have known, what precious joys, but also all the promises God gives that come with it. We talked about this in last season when we looked at Isaiah 58, there's these promises attached. You satisfy the afflicted, God satisfies you.
Come on.
So, yeah.
And there was true flourishing. That was the promise. And actually you see when they don't do the Jubilee principles and they begin to follow their own way and do what they think best, and even the bringing in of kings and what that ends up doing to the society, ultimately leads them to exile and away from the purposes of God and then away from intimacy and proximity and all those things. But coming back to that rich young ruler thing, I think it's seen there. Jesus calls him to lay it all down, but there's the promise. The promise is that he'll get to follow Christ, to be on the journey with Jesus, to walk in his stead. And that there becomes the nugget, the point of, would I be willing to give up everything because in letting go of everything, I gain all of Jesus? Do I desire close proximity to him, or do I desire the things that give me the identity that I want and the lifestyle that I seek? And man, I want to be the one that would choose Jesus in that situation. But it's going to need to be the place of genuine faith and trust. And believing that what we find in Jesus is everything.
And it requires that eternal perspective that Jesus talks about, where I'm laying up treasure in heaven, which I think is something we don't talk that much about. We joke. I think I've joked with you even today about, you told me something good you'd done and I said you lost your rewards in heaven already. But other than that, we don't really talk about this idea that we are supposed to be amassing treasure. It's just not on earth. It's a treasure in heaven. But then also at the same time, Jesus is the treasure in a field, isn't he? That you sell everything you've got to get that treasure. And how much do we, for me, I've been a Christian 32 years, and I think it's probably only in the last 3 that I've really started to feel like I grasped that scripture. And I'm probably in another 20 years, I'll be saying I didn't grasp it now even. But I've been really I'm so struck. Jesus, you are the pearl of great price. You are the treasure in a field, but you've treated me like I'm the treasure in a field, hasn't he? He's given up everything.
There you go.
As if I'm the treasure in a field, and he's the treasure. So how can I withhold anything from the one who withheld nothing from me? But the challenge to live like that on a daily basis is hard. And it is wonderful, and it is painful, and it's joyful, and it's all of that, isn't it? But the question, I think the big question, and maybe we'll land on this, unless you've got a deep thought you're about to come in with. But I think the real question is just, are we pursuing this even? Like, are we mindful of it? Are we asking God, what do you want from me? Are we loosening our grip on our stuff and saying, God, you gave it all to me anyway, like you said, you can have what you want. And I think the challenge to anyone who's listening, and to us as well, is what can we give? What is Jesus asking us to give today to someone? Could be our time, could be our money, could be that second winter coat we've got that we don't need. It could be anything, couldn't it? But what's he asking? Because he's probably asking for something. So
he certainly is.
Let's give it. Anyway, do we need to wrap up there?
Perfect.
Do you want to finish?
See us out. See us out now.
I don't know. I don't normally do the seeing out. Okay. You do it.
Well, on that question, what is God asking of you? What does he want to maybe loosen your grip on? Is he everything to you? In him are all the promises, everything you might possibly need. And so think on him. Ask him, just expose your life to him again and say, Lord, have your way. All that I have is yours. We'll see you for episode 3, just coming soon. Take care.